Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Author Journey, Soul Diamond Author Journey. We're so glad you are here with us. Oops, you might have noticed. Sinette Van Breda, where are you? She's not
Where
here.
is
She's
she?
traveling. She's traveling halfway across the world to New Zealand from Johannesburg, South Africa, to be with her grandbabies and one on the way. So a huge shout out to you, Sinette. We miss you. We love you. But the
Wow.
show must go on. The show must go on. So I'm Howard Brown. I will step in for Sinette today, but you are amongst family. Krista Rose and Laura Brennan Ballet in the house. We have been here before, and we're going to put on a great show. And we are so excited. Regina LaFrance, she is our newest family member and Ladybug. And we're going to get to talk all about her book and her life, Shayla. And we're very excited to do so. But I want to introduce the panel first, Regina, and then you're going to introduce yourself. And then we're going to get to digging in deep and talking about before, during, and after this authorship and about what's going on in your life since you've published the book. So, Krista Rose, lead us off, please.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Howard. So I'm Krista Rose from Ontario, Canada. And I went through different tragedies. I'm battling a chronic illness, and that's why I wrote Skip the Pain, Experience the Pleasure. My tagline is cut the crap that's holding you back so you can live the life you love. And I wrote it because I believe our mindset, the way we think, the way we talk, and the way we act all create our reality. So I did some energy work because we are one body, mind, soul. I believe that's how we are to live the life we love. Thank you.
Love it, love it, love it. And Miss Laura Brennan Ballet.
Thank you, Howard, for shining brightly and stepping in. They're big shoes to fill, but we do have a great job. Regina, it's an honor. We're really excited to have you here. Laura Brennan Ballet, I am a thought energy expert. I am a coach for the Courageous Leadership Program, podcast guest extraordinaire, and E360 TV global panelist. And this is very close to our hearts. We are all writers, we are all storytellers, but having you in the spotlight, it's really, as Howard said, we are bringing you into a family. And once you're here, we don't let you go. So thank you so much for sharing your time and your space and your story. We look forward to giving you questions that will inspire and empower our listening audience.
Thank you, Laura. So I'm Howard Brown. I am affectionately known as Mr. Shining Brightly. So I am an author, podcaster, and speaker. Everyone's putting their sunglasses on. And I wrote my memoir. I'm a Silicon Valley entrepreneur and a two-time stage 4 cancer survivor. And we try to shine brightly to lift up ourselves and then lift up others. And what you'll hear today, because I met Regina LaFrance just as her book was coming out, and she had just published, and she came on my podcast. I was one of her first PR, platforms to come on and share her story. And her story is filled with some darkness, but the light shines through, and you're going to learn the meaning of our ladybug. And so, Regina, please introduce yourself to the E360 TV viewing audience.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here today to share with you where I've been and where I am and where I'm going. And also to all the listeners, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. It's been a journey, but with people like Howard and now yourselves, I am a shining star and I feel like one, and I'm moving forward to participate and guide others that, like myself, were in the dark for so many years to also feel that the light is there and available for them when they make that decision or when they are at a point where they can start to heal and see the light like I did.
It's beautiful. And just before we get started, you just traveled somewhere to do major community service. Where were you?
Yes, I was invited to speak at a Women's International Empowerment Conference in Exuma, Bahamas. And it's not when we think of the Bahamas, we think of just the beaches and the sunshine and everything we love to do. this particular island is not about that. It's not about the resorts, and it's not about the travelers that go there to vacation. It's an island where people work hard and have not been as gifted as most of us. So we did back to school supplies and food, and we did 3 days of medical mission as well. My first time doing work like that, which totally changed how I view life. Coming home, going back in December, I'm partnering up with Leah's Hopes and Dreams from Charlotte, an established nonprofit. We are bringing bikes for children that never had a bike before, and toys for children for Christmas. And I changed a little bit about my where I was going with my nonprofit. At first, I wanted to have a state of the art retreat for survivors, but now my mission is to hit the streets and actually be in it with the people that need love and need me more than a retreat at this point.
Excellent. We'll get into the Ladybug Foundation and everything as well. But first, I just want to tell you, you're shining so brightly, helping those children, those families. People don't realize that most of the islands in the Caribbean and around the world, they live in poverty. They don't live in luxury. All the people go and have these fancy resorts, and the workers there, they live in poverty. So God bless you for that. And you are shining brightly. Just beautiful service at
Thank
just,
you.
it's real life. It's great. So I would love to give the honor to Krista Rose to lead us off. We know that there's some dark parts of this, and we're going to talk about them, and that we're going to talk about this bright transition of energy and this force multiplier for good and positive change that you are and have always been. So, Krista, please lead us off.
So first of all, I absolutely the journey you went through, or took me on through the book, was an experience. So it was for everybody out there. Definitely buy this book. It's not a book that you just read about a story. It literally is an experience, and it's comes from a perspective that I don't think many of us could come from. So it's a lot about abuse, or it's about abuse. But my question before I get into that, or you could talk about that, was I don't know how long ago you wrote the book, or so two questions. How long did it take you to write the book, and what was your why?
Oh no, I think she's frozen.
So we'll have maybe Portia will let her out or in. She just froze. That's the technology, the beauty of our technology. So she just published in February. Okay, and we'll
Okay.
wait for her to come back, but we'll go. And she kept this secret for like 40 years
Yeah.
within her. So the trauma, the devastation of being sexually assaulted by the village priest, it's absolutely just, it's incomprehensible for me. This little beautiful, and you see a picture of her book of a 9-year-old girl that just wants to swing on the swing set, to be taken advantage of a trusted, pedophile in their village. And we have no idea. I mean, she's never spoken about others that might have been affected by it, but she has a video on her website, and that portrays a little girl running, into the forest, and it's just, I cried reading
Yeah.
this first part of her
Yep.
book. It
Me
just
too.
brought me to absolute tears. I just was so impacted by it, and she just. I think when you're a little child, I mean, how do you process that, right?
You don't. You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you
can't, right?
can't.
It gets moved around in the body, right? The energy, it's an experience. So the energy, the sensation, right? It's a mental, emotional, psychological, physical. It's a natural it's a assault against the nature of who she was at 9 years old. And so there is no way to process it, right? Which is
I
why
think
she what she does.
I think something that stood out for me is because, we trust. Who do we trust? The leaders in our, community. One of them would be, highly regardless, is a priest. So wouldn't seem unnatural to want to trust a priest, to understand and, to go along with what a priest would, ask of you. But, as we'll talk more about her book, she was the one who was assaulted by the priest, and the priest has had this immense control over her. So, not just her body, but her mind. And I really think the experience that she went through is something that you don't process in the beginning because that's all you know, right? You don't know there's a different way. You don't know how it is for anybody else until as you grow up and you're able to, she'll get into her story, but you get into this awareness that what, this isn't the way that life should be. And definitely a survivor, strong woman. And yeah, just really excited to have read her book. And again, really, um, you know, the readers really should, take a look at this book. It's something that I think will change your life.
Though, if
So
I may, oh, I'm so
go.
sorry, Howard. I just want to say very quickly, I do think she knew that there was a difference. Part of that is because she was trying to let her parents know that she didn't want to take
Yes.
the lessons anymore. So we do know. We've been talking, but please, here she goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went looking for my laptop, and I shared with a friend that I had written that, and she told me that I would have to sit down and start writing again. So I did. I stopped everything, and it took me about 2 years to put it all together. And we finally published this year in February. But now looking back, and I know we'll touch on the book itself, but looking back, some people tell me, "Oh no, it's fine the way it is." I would write that book again, but it wouldn't be so raw, and it wouldn't be so dark because I have managed to move forward and not look at it the way that I used to look at it for 50 years. I wanted to speak up. I wanted people to know what happened to me. And once I wrote it and once I put it out there, then that desire to be heard was no longer part of me. And I guess that was a good healing point for me, writing it the way it is. What was like to go through that experience from a 10-year-old point of view, because in my mind, in my brain, I was still that 10-year-old when I wrote that book. I
Yeah.
was very
That's I was gonna say that was a great way of putting it because a lot of times I know we get trapped in that age when we go through any extreme emotion experience. So I think that the way you wrote it definitely is raw, and you could talk a little bit more about that. So for me, it was a little bit, like Howard said, we talked. I cried literally as we went through it, and different really strong parts where like I had to take a couple breaths through it. But you, like I said, you take us on a journey. So my second part of that question was, what was your why? Was it like a therapeutic process when you wrote it, or can you talk about that?
Sure. So in 2015, I was present when a little girl pleaded with her mother not to go to summer camp that year. And that little girl was about the same age that when I pleaded with my mother not to make me go to music lessons. That night, I had a clear memory and a vivid memory of me asking my mother not to make me go. And I went home that night. I called my best friend and I told my best friend I needed to tell her something. At first, I told her it was a little girl that lived in the island, but she quickly realized that it was me. I was so shameful. I didn't want anyone to know that that happened to me because in my mind, people would think less of me if they knew.
Yeah, I think that's common. So thank you for sharing it. Yeah, great answer, Laura.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to temper and co-regulate a little bit because, again, we're talking about the innocence of a child and we're talking to you who experienced it. And I really just want to honor the strength. and the true essence of that child that got you here. And I think we all feel like to feel shameful and scared are the exact opposites of what you should have felt at that time. But you wrote the book at the time that you needed to write it, because it's going to touch the lives of the people that need to hear it in that space. And then they're also going to hear this part of the story, right? So much of what we go through when we're children, and those of us that have gone through abuses, whatever they may be, right? This was very tragic what you went through, in my perception. But some of us have abandonment, emotional neglect, sexual abuse, there's incest, there's people that we look up to in the community that are just evil. And I would like to know, through that experience, writing the book, speaking about it, and now knowing, as we talked backstage a bit, you're really moving into this more empowered mindset around it. What do you think is still the fundamental block in parents, that they're not able to hear when a child is saying something? I understand my daughter, I kind of forced her, looking back, into viola lessons, and she fought me every step of the way. But I knew it was okay. It was a typical, I don't want to do this. I'd rather be out playing. I don't like this instrument. I didn't have that feeling. I'm not saying all parents are supposed to have this high powered radar to know when something's wrong, but have you come to maybe an awareness that we could share with the audience, and just individually when we're out in the world, that we could help parents recognize when our youth is saying something to us without saying it? How can we be more of a steward, a guardian, to help them if something is going on in the background that we maybe aren't able to hear clearly, but so we're not keeping them right tethered to something that is inappropriate?
Yeah, so I'm actually in a process right now. This is the first time that I'm going to say this publicly. I'm in the process of writing a program to introduce to high schools for seniors and college for seniors, and possibly even new parents that plan to have a child. A program where creating awareness to children that are in distress is a mandatory program, and that's going to be launched by the Ladybug Foundation. That's going to be one of the areas of the Ladybug Foundation, because just like you, my mother thought that I'd rather be outside playing and not go and commit for the music lessons. I was always very distracted, very curious, always wanted to be running around, learn everything, ask a lot of questions. And she thought that learning music would be a way for me to sit down and focus and learn something.
Hmm.
Had she had somebody like me, an advocate, that said, hey, watch out, that child's saying they don't want to go, why don't we just like take a look and find out why? Because children are so innocent, they're going to go anywhere. That's why we have stranger danger. They're going to go with anyone that has a toy, that has a swing set, a candy bar, a doll, a toy car, whatever. The child is going to go because they're so innocent, they don't see the danger. Okay? So if they go to daycare and they go to school, or they go to the babysitter, or maybe even with a step parent, and I hate to even label that, but someone that is not a parent, that is very involved in a child's lives, anyone that doesn't love that child the way that that child should be loved, that child doesn't want to go. We need to find out why. They might not want to go today because they have a sore throat. Okay, fine. But if they cry and say, Mommy, please don't make me go, and the mom or the dad, they're so stressed out, they have to get to work, they have an important meeting, they can't take time off, whatever the case may be, everything needs to stop to find out. That child is not going to tell you in words why they don't want to go. It's
I
up to
love
you,
that.
parent or person in charge, caretaker, to find out look around, ask questions, stay for a while, find out what's going on. Are you walking in the room full of people and the child shies away from one person? Are you at a birthday party and there's a family member, the child won't go and play with that family member? There's a reason why that child doesn't want to go. And
Yeah,
we
thank
just
you.
don't.
I really felt this was such an important question for that reason. And this is not to lay blame on a parent, right? Some of the
Right.
parents have been abused, have not ever faced their own trauma, right? They are still in patterns and coping mechanisms and may not even be aware that they're suppressing their
Yes.
own trauma. And so they're not even open to it. And I think it's so important to have a resource, a program, a manual, anything that a parent may say, I was never abused. My life was perfect. But in this environment, something could be wrong and it's okay. And really creating an environment, a safe environment for children to know I can say something without saying it all. And it will be an indicator to my parents. I can't tell you I'm not ready because of shame or guilt, but you're going to know something's wrong. Kind of like a safe word, right? And
Yes.
this is my safe word. So thank you. So beautifully expressed, and I'm super excited for this program. It's needed. It's needed. I'm doing something similar, but not for the same reasons, but for the same reasons with the science of empowerment. For that reason, parents need help, and they need assistance, and they need support, so we can protect the innocent. So congratulations. I'll be looking out for that program.
Thank you.
Hi, my ladybug.
Hi.
I just want to tell you. So when I first met you in February and you came on the podcast, the Shining Brightly Show, I cried, and then I reread your book, and I cried again. There is just no escaping the pure heinous emotion that I felt. I wanted to grab this priest and by his throat. It took me to such a place that when I look at the picture of you as a beautiful child and what you had to endure, okay, the pain that you had felt when you were riding in the car and not dropped off first, when you were in the cemetery aborting a child at such a young age, I I can't believe there's a world that we live in that children have to suffer this way. And I know there is, and I know there's a problem with pedophilia in the Catholic Church, and there's problems in other religions as well. But I just don't even know how you were able to get through your teenage years without really keeping this such a secret. I don't even know it. You to me are so courageous,
Mm.
and I want to know how it felt to then thus retell this story. Was it
Mm.
more pain or was it healing?
At the time writing it, it was just tears coming out.
Right.
There was no, I didn't have emotions, or I didn't have anything other than just tears coming out. I cried a lot writing it. The that piece that you just all that you just said, also the portion that when I left home, that goodbye with my mother, that was by far, the goodbye to my mother was by far the worst. I had never I had thought about it, but I had never hurt over it because I didn't want to hurt. When we filmed the trailer, they wanted me to cry for the therapy scene, and I just can't cry on demand. I said, I know what will make me cry. Let me read this chapter to you. Well, there was everybody in the room. There were 7 people in the room. We were all crying when I read, and that was only my second time reading it after I wrote it. That scene of leaving the island for the first time and the last time really, and my mother grabbing on to that car door and the tires of that car. I could see her fingernails grabbing on that tire to stop that car from leaving and taking me away. That was by far the worst moment of my life,
Mm.
because that was the moment that I found out that my mother loved me.
Yeah.
My father or my mother never said I love you, but that's normal. Back in the 60s, where I grew up, nobody said stuff like that. It was just, we just never heard that coming from anyone's mouth. And you just do what you're told, and that's it. And if you know anything about growing up in the 60s, especially in a country like Portugal, is what goes on in this house stays in this house. We are not telling the neighbors, we are not telling anyone, and we're never talking about this again. So if I was to say anything to my parents, my father idolized this priest, and the priest told me that my father would never believe me, and I believed him, and that's when he called me cockroach, and I went from feeling like a ladybug to feeling like a cockroach for 40 years. Ugly, unattractive, stupid. Even though I had good jobs, I went to school when I got here to the United States. I went to college. I had wonderful jobs. I bought my own house. But that did not matter. I was an overachiever just to cover up how I felt about myself. And it wasn't until after I wrote the book that other people came forward to me and said, "You're amazing." And that's when I started doing the I am affirmations and went to the mirror every morning, and I told myself that if everybody thinks I'm that, then maybe I am. And I started telling myself, very uncomfortable to tell myself that at first. But once I started saying it, I used to walk around the house saying, I am wonderful. And it was very uncomfortable. But once I began to learn that about myself, and I started liking who I was, and seeing myself as a ladybug, it's just I came up with the idea of the ladybug for the foundation for that purpose. That go back to that childhood moment, that you have a happy moment or a happy memory, and go back there and grab yourself and become that person, because that's who you were intended to be, in my experience.
So those that are viewing right now, that your dad's affectionate name for you was Ladybug as a little
Yes,
girl, and this just heinous pedophile priest told you you were a cockroach. He took your self
yes,
worth and he stomped all over it. And for you to recreate and assume the beautiful ladybug that your dad was is just really beautiful. And yeah, we are shining brightly on that. And she's wearing ladybug sunglasses for those that may
Yeah,
be
just for
listening.
you.
Those are the most
and
beautiful sunglasses. You are the ladybug for sure.
and
And
Howard, just let me interrupt for a second. It all started really with you. I only had done like 2 or 3 podcasts prior to you, and you built me so big. You were so kind and so passionate about the ladybug, and it became my nickname from you. And you were so kind and so sweet. And I was like, I'm going to be on stage with him someday, because I just know it. It's not going to be tomorrow or next month, but it's going to be someday. And I never forgot that. And thank you for that. Because back in February, even though we're just a few months ago, I was still harsh. I was still like, I'm tough, I'm not going to back down and whatever. Now, now it's like, not only I'm a ladybug, I'm a butterfly. I just easy going, easy does it, and I'm embracing everything, and everything is just coming. Everything is pouring in.
so I want to tell you that I am so warm with feeling that I was able to use my light to help lift you and
Yes,
bring back the ladybug to where it should be. And I will tell you that Laura, who's, we're like sister and brother, and Krista, I like my little sister, that living energy, I am so proud to have a small part in lighting that light for you. And I treat you like a sister as well, and
yes,
introduce you to many stages, and we will be on the same stage someday.
yes.
And I am beaming and just so proud to have a small influence on you. You've carried the torch, and you are just that living energy, and it's beautiful, and that healing energy. And
Thank
with the
you.
healing energy, I want to go back to Krista before I start
Yes.
crying. I'm so proud.
No, I know that is amazing, and I definitely give kudos to Howard because he does make other people shine brightly, as well as himself. But and it's interesting because as we've been talking, in the start of this show, I had more of a heaviness. And we talk about energy and vibration. I talk a lot about how we have to bring our vibration so we don't stay in those thoughts and speak those words and keep doing those actions over and over. And what you've been doing and talking about how you softened, already I feel lighter and more inspired. So I'm going to ask you, where was the point that you had a mindset shift? Or what did you do to change your mindset? Was it to start the foundation? Was it, let us know.
So when I interviewed with Howard, that was right around that time. The book was published, and all happened. For me, I don't know if it was pure luck, a divine intervention, my faith in God, my appeals to Jesus, my I am affirmations, the power of the universe. For me, I woke up one day and I remembered hearing this. It was not your fault. You were not responsible. And it was almost like, wow, I just learned a formula. And I learned that formula. Wow, if it's not a child's fault, how can an adult carry on that burden forever? And that was the for me, it was that day. That day I have goosebumps. That day that I found out that if a child is hurt and then you grow up to be an adult and you carry that on, it's not your burden. And that's my thing. It's never a child's fault. In one of my talks, I always make that point. If you are suffering today, please know that it's normal to feel shame, but you need to learn that formula. I just made that up, actually, the formula. You need to learn that concept that you feel shamed because of something somebody else did. So you need to learn how to get out of that mindset. And that's when my mindset changed. The
Yeah,
ladybug came the Ladybug Foundation came like maybe 4 months later. One day I was just sitting around and it just came to me and I grabbed it. I had the idea and I just grabbed the idea. I said, if I can ask 1 million people for $1, I'm going to have enough money to open a retreat. And then I said, I'm going to do a ladybug movement and I'm going to move mountains. And that's where I'm at. It's all approved by the IRS. It's ready to go. I'm taking a course on how to write your own grants and do your own budgeting and everything. So the retreat is on hold for now because it's going to be a long-term goal. I want to go to the streets and I want to speak to the people that are hurting real bad, and the children that are not getting what they need. I want to give them smiles and offer them comfort.
wow, what a great message that you just gave everybody, and how you have changed your not only your mindset, but your thoughts, but definitely your actions, and how
Yes,
you're taking action. And that's what is, I believe, part of the formula and is kind of like blowing me away. So thank you. Continue taking the action and listening to those voices, and amplifying the world, really. So yes, wonderful.
yes.
Mm.
And just to say this, last week I was in LA, and I against all odds, I went. I went because I believe that there was a calling. I had an interview, a face-to-face interview for a podcast with Mike Torsha, who is a fitness guru, someone that has trained all the celebrities in Hollywood, and now he interviews different people. And I did the interview with him, but because of that leap of faith, me going to LA to do this, okay, I met four people, and that's really all I need right now. Four people that could potentially be four people that are going to introduce me to thousands of people that are going to see my message. And out of all of these people, there's going to be one person that is going to say, we are implementing this. And we are going to create a program or a book or something that everyone is going to be required to read from the age of 18 to the age of 25. Either a senior in high school or a senior in college, if you are getting ready to start a family and have children, you need to read this.
I love it. I love it. Is so great. I love to see your passion. That's amazing.
Yes.
I have too many questions. I don't know where we are in time because this happens to us. I have questions around religion. For someone who was exposed to that environment, and when you talk about God and Jesus and your faith, I think it's remarkable. The one place that we all go in our own way, wherever our faith lies. You had this experience where it was crushed, right? A priest who represents the highest divinity, and you have not lost that. Um, this is amazing to me on many, many levels. I wanted to ask you, similar to what Krista was saying, but a bit different. We're made up of energy and we hold the sensations and the structure of experiences, whether it's in our awareness, whether it's in our heart, whether it's in our physicality. How are you able to, I'm going to use my word, recalibrate the energy, right? Almost the imprint of that energy. There's a lot of sensation that does not belong placed upon a child. And as you move through your life and you hold now that courage and that beauty and that empowering part of you, how do you move through when maybe for a moment something comes in and it either triggers or it settles back into that feeling again? How do you constantly keep evolving? And I can see you know where I'm going with this, and you already have, so I'm going to stop. Go ahead.
Okay, so going back to my faith, I did not have a faith all the way up until probably my 30s. I just put that aside. It didn't belong. It didn't exist. I never thought about it. It was not part of my life. In my 30s, I discovered the secret, the power of attraction, the universe, how the universe just provides for you, and I gravitated to that for a while. Mother Nature, the universe. I never said the word God or nothing. However, I have a lot of books about Jesus, and I always thought Jesus was the best ever mentor of love. So I always like to say, what would Jesus do? Okay. And then, and then, about a year ago, I began to feel that divine and that connection. Never let go of Jesus, though, because I always believed that he was the number one mentor, no matter what, for love. And so everything started to come together. And then I had questions. Is it the universe? Is it Mother Nature? Is it the power of the land? Is it God? Is it, what is it? What is it that moves us? And then I got involved in Dr. Dispenza's
Yeah.
teachings, where it's all here.
Yeah.
It's in here. You have to control what goes on in here. And I said, well, I learned to speak English when I was 18, so I am now going to learn how to train this. It's a new language, it's a new way of living. And I said, I don't want to hear another word about anything that I used to know. This is my outline now. This is where I'm going. I'm going with this. I am good person. I am wonderful. They tell me I'm beautiful. I must be. And I am smart. I learned to speak another language at the age of 18. I am going to train this brain, and I am going to learn to be that person that I want to be. And that's the direction that I took. Now, two things to answer your question. God just came recently, about
Mm.
3 or 4 months. Okay. So now I say that with honor, because that divine voice that I heard, it wasn't just because I had a dream. It was a miracle. It was a miracle that happened that night. It was an introduction to my new life. And the triggers, yes, they will always show up. They are there. I am that person. I am that person that thought for 40 years that I was a cockroach. That's never going to die with my experience. I'm not a trained professional, but I was that person for 40 years. That person will always be here. Like, I spoke Portuguese only for the first 20 years of my life. That piece of my life is there. Like, I can't help it that I went through that, but I have accepted it. And I will not allow it to control my life. So when I have a trigger because someone said something the poor taste or someone offended me, that's on them. If I take that offense and carry that on and make that be my day, then obviously all this conversation about the healing and the new everything is not working. I have to stay true to my triumph badge because that's what I wear now. That victim badge is in a box. And when I have a few more people that I'm working with that want to retire that victim badge, we're going to have a ceremonial. And we're going to broadcast that ceremonial. And we're going to talk about this is what you do with your victim badge. You would not take a soldier that came back from the war missing a limb and have that soldier go back to war. That soldier is retired. So when you retire your victim badge, you are done. And don't take that triumph badge until you're ready.
There's so much here that I'm going to reach out to you. I'm sending you a copy of my book, and I because, and Howard knows this, I think this is so important to make a decision, honor that decision. And that's what you're doing. And I love how you have retained this openness now at a later part in your life. And it's not like I refuse to be a victim. You just know I'm not anymore. It's not who I am continuing to become. I love the Joe Dispenza. I love the skills and the tools. I love the resources that you personally are connecting to, how you are aligning still to divinity. I smiled when you said about Jesus. I've done over 100 podcasts. It's something I share. I always say, what would Jesus do in this moment? It's
Yes,
just an idea of somebody that, right, was nailed to the cross, right? What would
yes,
he do? He's been through something. He has some value. Even if you don't believe in everything, there's a purpose to the story around these stories. And this is, I think, what is the beauty and the empowerment of you, where you are in this moment with us today, where you are envisioning yourself to go. There is purpose to who you are. And I honor that. I'm recognizing that. So again, thank you for sharing everything. I think you're amazing.
one more thing. For those people out there that have triggers, remember, if you are easily offended, you are easily manipulated.
Mm,
If
yeah, you're
someone
giving.
says something that offends you, don't even feel like you have to respond. You don't have to respond. Feel confident. It's a trigger. Or aside.
Yeah, I love that. We
This
go
this
back
is
to. Yeah,
Yeah, this is
I'm
such a
sorry.
powerful episode, and Sinette Vimbretta, she's I call her the dancing queen, and she's our beautiful butterfly that went from a caterpillar to her butterfly with her rapid weight loss and her being a voice amplifier to the world. So we send our love to you, Sinette. This is a powerful episode. I know you will appreciate it and appreciate Regina's journey and her wisdom and her light. It's absolutely beautiful. I also want to welcome you to the family of the Art of Connection. A shout out to Robert Jones and Natalie McQueen and Buddy Thornton. We are all family together. We are a heart-centered group, and so I'm welcoming you, Regina, to the Art of Connection group as well. I we're down to almost wrapping up the show a little bit, so I actually have something called the speed round. So I'm going to ask you 4 or 5 words with short answers to have you respond. So the first word is when I say the word innocence. how would you respond?
Oh, innocence.
Innocent.
Immediately I think of a child.
Okay. Tell me about forgiveness.
I think about loving who you are, forgive yourself, and move on.
Mm.
Love it. Do you consider yourself a survivor?
I am past the survivor now. I am a war battle bad ASS woman now.
You are. Tell me about healing and how important that is.
Healing is like learning a new language.
Mm.
If
It
you're in
is.
in a foreign country, you need to learn that language to speak and move forward.
I love
What
that.
would you say about hope?
It's available for all people.
Mm.
And then
Wow.
lastly, love.
Love is the most beautiful thing one could imagine having for self.
Mm.
Thank you. Wow,
Oh,
just immense wisdom. Thank you very much. I felt it, and it's amazing. So we're going to go, and Krista and Laura will have some final short things, questions. Now, normally we dance off the program today. I don't know if we have a closing out today, but we'll do it a little bit differently. So we'll say our goodbyes to our audience as well there. So there's probably about 6 minutes left, but we'll do that. We'll put on our sunglasses, the ladybug, my shining brightly our shades. So, but Krista and Laura, I want to give you some final comments or anything that you want to finish up the show with Regina.
Yeah, I definitely want to comment when you talked about how, you know, you were changed your thoughts and because I know we when we wake up in the morning, we can wake up in a great mood and all of a sudden our mind starts going on everything happened yesterday was, you know, someone said, and we get into such a negative space. And you really address that about, you know, it I'm talking about some maybe it's simple, but it continuing that in everyday life, every choice. And I love the way you say it's a decision because I've always said you're one decision away from changing the rest of your life. So I just really wanted to make a comment and, you know, give you that kudos because I know that the decisions you're making every single day, every single moment, and they're going to be different, is not only going to be changing your life, but the lives of so many others.
Thank you.
Laura?
so I'm just going to ask you quickly, what makes you happy now? What brings you like joy and fun? Like, how do you tap into that playful part of you that maybe you had to tuck away for a little bit, but you can see it, it's on your face. So, how do you experience and express happiness, fun, joy?
Everywhere I go, I bring a smile and I look at the bright side. I always look at the cup half full. If it's raining, pull a blanket and read a book on the couch. If it's hot out, go to the mall where it's cool. Uh, you just feel happy inside. There's no burden inside. And if you need to speak to someone about something bothering you, go ahead and speak from your heart. Go plant a flower. Go for a hike. Go work out. Go cook a beautiful meal. Go do something for someone. The other day, I picked a bunch of flowers that I had in the backyard, and I went over there to my 85-year-old neighbor that lives alone, and I gave him a bouquet of flowers, and he couldn't believe it.
Oh,
Just go do the thing.
I like that.
beautiful. Beautiful.
No drama. No drama.
Yeah, yeah.
And
All right.
simple, simple things.
So
Yes.
keep your sunglasses
Oh, here we go.
on and say goodbye to our audience.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And this
Thank
is
you.
Dancing with our audience and Sinette. We miss you, Sinette. We love you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Just
Thank
listen.
you.
Walking on sunshine,
Gotta dance it out.
dancing in the
Dance
rain.
with us in spirit
Sprinkle
right
me
now.
with fairy dust so I can fly away.
Carry on, Regina.
Smiling at a moonbeam mark, squinting in the sun. Sprinkle me with fairy
Regina. We love you, Ladybug.
Bye bye.
Thank